all of us of a certain age were drawn at one time or another to the irresistible hypnotic sounds of rock and roll. I still listen to rock and roll. Some people I know still play rock and roll. One of the most durable rock and roll gangs that I've ever encountered is Mourning Dayze, the subject of a new book. It's called Mourning Dayze. A Wisconsin garage band rockin' since 1965. It is my pleasure to welcome three of the, what seems like, having read the book, 853 members of Rockin Dayze. Introduce yourself to the listeners.
Hi, Rick. I'm Rick Pfeiffer. I am the original member of the band that's played since its very beginning.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Thank you, Rick. My name's Doug Henry, and I'm an original member. I'm not in the band currently. I left the band in late 1970.
Well, when they had many transitions, yes.
Yep, and thank you, Rick. My name's Risa, and I've been in the band since 1971.
Only since 71?
Only
That's
since
unbelievable,
71.
because you look like you're still 17 years old. You write in the introduction to the book, the story of Mourning Dayze is a familiar story to thousands of musicians and bands. It's not the story of a band that's been on Billboard's Top 100 or made any significant contributions to the world of pop music or had any star status. That is one of the reasons, guys and girl, that I think this is an important book, because you have had, and you have to understand this, and I get it from the book, you've had an influence of sorts on everybody who's ever listened to you, because the way they listened to you most of the time was in the intimacy of a nice and some not so nice and some not nice at all clubs. Talk about how you started in this whole thing.
Wow. Well, my beginnings began with a love affair with the guitar. I mean, it started with Gene Autry and Roy Rogers. When I saw those guys and heard them singing, playing their guitar, I was in love.
And said, rock and roll.
So,
those guys.
Man, rock and roll, let's rock out. And then the electric guitar came.
Yeah.
I heard the Ramrod's record of Ghost Riders in the Sky. They hit that toggle switch on that reverb, on putting it onto that bridge pickup, and I said, oh, man, this is for me. Then it was the Ventures. And I absolutely fell in love with music. There's nothing else I ever wanted to do, and just started pursuing the guitar. My parents were all behind me. I loved to sing for show and tell. Instead of telling a story, I'd sing a song. And through that, I met Doug and the guys that eventually formed Mourning Dayze.
Doug, you were a cornet player, and horns didn't really come into rock and roll until Bruce Springsteen, until the big man, until relatively recently. How did a cornet player get involved in this whole thing?
Yeah, the cornet wasn't really a door opener for the for rock and roll.
Yeah, well put.
But my friend in high school in South Milwaukee, he was in a rock band already, and in '64, and he played the saxophone. And so I used to hang around with them, and then I said, well, can I help you to load equipment and this type of thing? And they said, oh, sure, come on. So
what was it that appealed to you, if not the music? Was it just the scene and the
whole thing, the guitar, the scene, getting up on stage? They let me get up on stage and do the Eddie Cochran part of in Summertime Blues, that low part.
Sure.
And that's all I got to do, and then I had to pack up equipment. And I got home. I was doing paper routes. I told my mom, I said, I got to get a guitar. I want to get in the band. And so we
you bought a K Electric for $100 in 1963.
And that time, with 3 pickups, I thought, holy cow, 3 pickups, that is great. I didn't realize the K guitar was the low end. Now I think they're probably worth some money if I had that.
You still have it?
I do not. I traded it in for a Gibson Melody Maker.
Good for you. Now, you coming late to the whole thing in 1971. How did you get involved in all of this?
Well,
in the wild world of rock and roll.
Well, even when I was in 4th grade, all I loved to do was sing. I just love to sing. Always have. And my brother had a band. My brother, Rick Pfeiffer, and they auditioned some girls.
And you kept saying,
and
Rick, they're
I
no
would
good. She's
well,
no
a
good.
garage
She
band.
stinks.
They would audition in a garage,
Yeah.
which was an old cow barn.
Yeah. She's no
And
good. She
I'd
stinks.
stand outside and I'd listen.
She has a drug
and I'd
problem.
Go,
Don't
"This girl
don't
can't
hire her.
sing,
She's
got no
terrible."
soul.
Yeah.
And so then I asked my brother I'd like to audition. He made me audition.
He did?
Yeah.
What did you sing for your audition? Do you remember?
Heart of Gold.
Oh, wow.
By Neil Young.
Yeah.
Just a little chorus part, like 4 little lines. And then we of course we lived together with my parents at that time.
Yeah.
And
so you had your dad come in and say,
he said,
hire
"I'll-"
your sister. What's the matter with
He
you?
said, I'll call you. He said, I'll call you.
He didn't say, I'll walk down the hall, I'll knock on your door.
Hey,
I'll
it's my
call
sister,
you.
man.
He was like a total music. Wait, he was like a total music professional even then.
Oh, yeah.
No,
Oh, yeah.
what? I mean,
Yeah,
was
yeah.
she good? I mean, you must have.
You know, right away. We'd never sung together before that point. We'd never
Wow.
sung together.
Yeah.
That was the first time. And when we sang together, like so many families, when they sing together, something kind of magical happens. There's a little sparkle
Sure.
to the sound that's
Beautiful
not
blend.
there. That's when you sing with other people. And that was there and said, this is good. Was certainly concerned about band life and my sister being involved with it. But the music was so good that we can handle band life. The music's going to be good. Let's roll with that and push that
Before we
forward.
take a break, I know this is going to come off as sort of a weird question, but you've done a lot of introspection and a lot of thinking about your lives here. None of you could have imagined at that point, unless you could never have imagined that you would be playing and gigging at, let's say, your parents' age, even or beyond. Did it seem at the time like this was going to be your life, or did it seem like this was going to be fun for a while? You know what I
We
mean?
were living in the moment. We weren't thinking about the future. We were just living in the moment, loving the moment, and it was so good. Why worry about the future?
Wow.
Yeah.
Same for you, Doug?
Yeah.
Absolutely. In the 65 through 70, then we were playing, and there were so many places to play around Wisconsin. They had what they called the teen bars or beer bars, and there was such a circuit of groups playing all the time. And we pack up, and we got Mourning in our name, Mourning Mourning,
Yeah.
and we packed up our hearse and pulled a trailer and went all over the state.
Whoever painted that trailer it was not the world's best letterer. No offense if it was you guys. Was it you?
I was
You're a
wondering about
musician.
that.
You
I
shouldn't
was
be an artist.
curious as to
You're
what
not
I
a
was.
visual.
Now I know.
You're not a visual artist. The reason I say that is the book is filled. You guys really did keep a pretty good catalog of your adventuresome life. I mean, you've got,
We have great fans.
Playbills from this. A lot of this stuff come from your fans?
Our parents.
Yeah.
Oh, your parents too.
kept it. They kept it.
What did not yours, Doug, but what did your parents think of you two wild, crazy kids?
Well, we knew we had freedom. I mean, that's one thing about playing rock and roll. We knew we had freedom. We can get away with murder because we were musicians. Oh, they're just musicians. That was one thing. Our parents supported it to the max.
Wow.
Whatever we did, because they knew our hearts were into it. It's what we really loved. And they could tell whatever other crazy things we were doing, it was because we were trying to do what we loved. It wasn't done out of anger. It was really done out of experimenting.
It was not rebellion.
It kind of was.
Sort of.
But we would try that, and they said, well, it's okay, because they're good kids.
Were they troubled, or your parents too, Doug, about all of the things that surrounded the wonderful world of rock and roll and nightclubs in that era? All of the bad things that I remember very, very well.
When I did get home, my dad would say, when are you going to get a haircut? And then if we practiced, because we were out of Whitewater, and once we'd get to South Milwaukee sometime, and we'd get in the basement, and then we'd just shake the floor, and then we get in the hearse and leave, and they were happy about that. But
they wanted you on the road. I get it. They wanted you guys on the road.
They signed for our equipment, and
now I get it. All right, we got to take a break. I'm talking to 3 of the 850 members of Mourning Dayze, because the band has changed, like all bands will through the years. Rick Pfeiffer and his sister Risa, who are still in the band, still performing. Doug Henry, who not because of rehab or any problems, left the band, but has remained obviously good friends with the
Absolutely.
band members.
Yeah. Family.
We'll be back with them. I'll tell you where you can get the book, and we will actually hear the biggest hit from Mourning Dayze. You'll all remember the song. I won't even tell you what it is. First, I'll tell you that they're Chicago, they're real. Watch Dan Ponce, Lauren Jiggets, Larry Potash, and Rum and Bob Garten get real in the morning with WGN TV News. Weekdays, 4 o'clock to 10. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You are listening to members of the band Mourning Dayze that has been together since prehistoric times. I mean, you guys have been around forever. You initially, and I was very, very taken in the book. The book is called Mourning with a U, Dayze, D-A-Y-Z-E. It comes with a fascinating sort of interview music, photo-heavy DVD in the back, too. I'm very taken with this band, the Coachmen, because this is, by the picture, the straightest-looking group of guys I've ever seen. And these guys look like Jehovah's Witnesses or something. Tell me, boys, Rick Pfeiffer and Doug Henry, who were both in the Coachmen. Tell me a little about the Coachmen.
Okay, 1965, I go to the University of Whitewater, and they have what they call a freshman night down on Main Street, where they close off the streets, and they bring in some entertainment on the street, and then all the kids, the freshmen, are just all over the place. And all of a sudden, down the street a little ways, I hear some noise coming out of some music coming out of an upstairs window. And I had some friends, or actually roommates down here from Glen Ellen. Actually, they were my roommates. And I said, "Hey guys, let's go. I want to see what's going on up here." Because one of my purposes when I went to college was to get in the band, so I could pay for college, which I ended up doing. But
what did you study in college?
Well, I ended up in secondary ed.
Okay,
so
good.
I taught school for 6 years in English after that.
Oh, nice. Good for you. I like teachers.
And I continued having bands throughout that time. But anyway, I hear these guys playing, and I go up there and introduce myself, and I said, "Hey, this sounds good." And they say, "I play guitar." And he says, "Well, do you have a guitar and an amp?" I said, "Well, it's in the dorm."
That's all you need. You're in the band.
They take me back to get it. And that was the start of it, 1965.
Wow.
And played through the end of 70.
You guys you write in here, and most of the writing is you, Rick. I mean, it's interviews with a lot of people, and you guys too. But you write in here, after 2 weeks of rehearsals, we suddenly found ourselves landing our first gig at Nora's Store on Highway 12 between Cambridge and Madison. Our second gig was at Whitewater's Hawks Bowl. We each made, man, were we excited. We each made $15. I could not believe we were getting paid to play music.